And now, shifting gears, we move to our next panel discussion, where we'll explore the role of Edtech in promoting access, inclusion, and quality in education for children from marginalized backgrounds. Now, if the first panel was about identifying the hurdles, like they did brilliantly, this one is about using technology to leap over those hurdles. So let's delve into the hottest topics of education today, EdTech. All right? And now, EdTech is like a superhero of our age, isn't it? Wearing a cape of innovation, wielding the power of access and inclusion and quality. But, as Uncle Ben wisely said to Spider-Man, with great power comes great responsibility. Now, let's put this a little bit into perspective, okay? The potential of EdTech is so enormous, but it's not without challenges. So imagine trying to access virtual learning when your village actually struggles with basic electricity. How do you go online? How do you do virtual learning? And yet, as Thomas Edison, the man who literally lit up the world, once said, genius is 1% inspiration and 99% perspiration. So now this panel will actually explore how we can sweat it out to make EdTech truly inclusive and impactful. And so we're joined by an exceptional lineup of speakers who bring rich perspectives to this transformative discussion. First, I'd like to call on Mr. P.B. Sajeev, CEO of Aide Action India and Director of Program Development at Action South Asia. He will be moderating the session for us. Welcome, Mr. Sajeev. With over 20 years in the development sector, his leadership has brought transformative education to undeserved communities. Welcome, sir. Welcome to the panel. Next, I'd like to call on Ms. Rema Mohan, CEO of NSC Foundation, whose impactful CSR initiatives have touched millions across education, health, and sustainability. Welcome, Ms. Mohan. Next, I'd like to call on Ms. Shilpashree Muniswamappa, Director of ESG Communications at ColgatePalmolive, India. She has been a passionate advocate of sustainable and inclusive change through CSR. Welcome, Shilpashree. Thank you so much for joining us. Next, Mr. Ravichandran Venkataraman, Chairperson of eVidyaloka Trust, a pioneer in leveraging technology to provide digital classrooms to rural children. Please welcome Mr. Venkataraman. Thank you for joining us, sir. Next, Ms. Priyanka Saxena, Senior Manager of Indian Partnerships for Early Learning, IPEL, at CARE USA, whose expertise lies in designing foundational literacy, numeracy frameworks for marginalized children. All right, let's get started. Or as I like to think of it like this, let's see how technology can turn the chalkboard into a digital canvas and the classroom into a global community. Mr. Sajeev, the floor is all yours. Or maybe I should say the screen is all yours.
Thank you very much. And welcome all to this panel discussion, which will talk about how to promote access, how to promote inclusion, and how to enhance quality in education through EdTech. Just a decade back, we have been talking about technology, not in the sense in the way we are talking today. AI, for instance, was something, a remote discussion which was happening. And look at what has happened today. We are surrounded, pushed, pulled by AI. You click at any of the social media and AI blooms up to you and says that, ask me. And that is what is happening today. And we all are surrounded, affected by AI. Some of us are trying to play around with it, while some are running around a long way through with that technology, improving the technology. While I say that, I must also confess that even today when I travel to rural India, I still come across children who are yet to see a computer. I'm yet to see a child. I still come across children who have never touched a computer, never felt a computer, never seen how it operates. Now, I must also say that one of the side effects of COVID has been how Edtech bloomed up. It bloomed up to such an extent that it attracted many an attention. But along with that, it also brought forward many of the challenges that was not actually hidden, but we never try to look into it. And one of the biggest challenge which emerged from what happened at that point when we were trying to push EdTech was the great digital divide. The great digital divide which was there in our country, which still remains in our country. And looking into all those aspects, we need to consider how do we look into the aspect of access. Does access mean only to have a gadget in hand? Or does access also means that we are able to manage the cost of that access? One of the clear things which emerged during the COVID period was the cost of data, the data cost, which was overwhelming for those who were still struggling to break out from the poverty cycle. So when we talk about access, we need to think from that perspective also. We are thinking about a world where people are still struggling to emerge from that cycle of poverty. We also need to think from the perspective where patriarchy still holds solid grounds in our country, where preference is given more to the boys playing with the gadgets than to the girls. So these are the aspects which I feel we need to look deeply into. I come across teachers who are nervous using the technology. They have been provided with technology, but still they are nervous. And when I ask them, what is the issue? नहीं चला तो लेता हूँ लेकिन कुछ झिरमिर आता तो समझ में नहीं आता कि करे क्या. I feel nervous before the children, and children ask so many questions about technology, I am not able to answer it. I am not able to balance between the book and technology. So should we start thinking more deeply about how hybrid education can play a critical role, how it can help in reaching out and help in engaging both teachers and students equally. Like in the previous panel, one of the panel members very pertinently pointed out, teachers are one of the most crucial stakeholders. If we just hand over technology and move back, it can have a very, very detrimental effect. With that, I would, we have very short time, 45 minutes, out of which I consumed 5 minutes, it seems. So let's move ahead with the discussion. We have a distinguished group of panel members who are highly experienced and are making a difference in the lives of people. And I'm also energized and waiting to listen and learn from all of you. And to begin with, considering the challenges what we face and the way, the speed with which technology is moving ahead, I would like to request Rema to throw light on how do we address or how technology can be leveraged in context to access. How do we address that part? And reach out, especially reach out to children who come from the most underprivileged and are the last mile students.
So to take a step back, 2017, late, they conceptualized the aspirational districts. 2018, they launched it, and we got into the aspirational district programs. So some of the districts, since we don't have a boundary in terms of a factory where we need to work, the National Stock Exchange is pan-India. So we took up aspirational district in each one of the zones. And to set the context, I would like to use the example of Nandurbar. in Maharashtra, where we wanted to work in a district saturation mode. We took up a number of sectors, but since we're talking of education, I'll dwell on education. So education was taken up on a district saturation mode. Now, obviously, we implement through local agencies, local NGOs, and obviously, the NGOs did not have the bandwidth to take up the entire district. So we had to split it. So that was where innovation came into. Nandurbar is split into two sort of geographically very diverse locations. One is a tribal and one is a non-tribal areas. And the tribal areas are really, really far-flung. I remember there was a short video that was sent by a field worker where he says, I want you to see the path that I traverse to get to a learning center every day. And honestly, I'm not exaggerating, it was over the hills and far away. So this is the type of diverse location. We also worked in urban areas and other semi-urban areas, which gave us a perspective of really how do we tackle the issue of education. Of course, the earlier panel has dwelt on a large number of issues. In Nandurbar, when we took that district up, it was surprising because we started work in 2019, 2020, we had COVID, so 21, 22, 23. So it went into pre-COVID, COVID, and post-COVID. So it gave us a rather fair understanding of how to work in rural areas. Now coming to the models, we had a model where we set up learning labs in residential schools. So that was a model. Then we had a model where we had the educational content preloaded, which was shown to children. Of course, we trained the teachers as well. So that was a second model. We had the solar panel and everything else for the electricity failures. We had another model where the educational content with the assessment, the adaptive assessment was again preloaded onto tablets and given to both the class teachers. So that was a third model. We had a cluster approach for the really far-flung wadis and the hamlets, where we tried to train the local youth to be a mentor and then run the CRC model, which is the Child Resource Center model. So there are various models that we tried. But for the purpose of this conversation, we're talking about digital. At that time, I think the mobile penetration was around 36 or 37% or so. I think post-COVID, it's now gone up to more than 70%. So there is a paradigm shift. At that time, when we started all the labs and learning centers and adaptive technology and all that, we didn't find too many companies, most of them were startups, with good level of content. At that time, 2019, whatever I saw, left much to be desired. The third point was, a child learns in various ways. It's not a planar learning. Now the child uses, some children are good at hearing and learning. Some see and learn. Some want to work and learn. So there's a lot of ways a child learns. But at that time, the digital content that was there was a very top-down approach. There was some sort of dramas or something which was there, the child had to learn. So our learning is essentially understanding of the various models that we had implemented. We did a study after that, which was called Rebooting Learning, where about 6 of the NGOs did a study on really assessing and comparing which model really worked. And it's surprising, Sajeev, what we found was that a child, and I'm talking about primary education again, somebody mentioned that was an important aspect of learning. In a primary setup, the model that worked best, which came out of our studies, was that you have technology, you have interactive technology, but that has to be an enabled technology. We cannot have a situation where you load something, leave it on a smartphone, expect the child to learn. And especially since post-COVID, we saw a 9+ month regression in learning. We saw children with a lot of lack of interest. They're unable to sit in one of the one of the most spoken about sort of challenges with the teachers and others face is that they're unable to get the child to sit. So obviously technology needs to be enabled. You need an enabler, you need trained enablers, and the technology has to be interactive. So this has been our learning, and I think post that, there has been some improvement in the type of content that is being delivered. But I must say, Sajeev, we are at the cusp of something that's taking off. Now, how this is going to evolve, and we must understand that it has to be contextualized, and the contextualization is so diverse. You have urban, you have rural, you have tribal, you have non-tribal, you have dialect, you have the main state languages. It's so diverse. Can one solution fit all? Obviously, no. Secondly, we have got great content by the government since then. A lot of things have been launched. Swayamprabha is one of them. But again, is that interactive content? We are thinking that a child sees a content and learns. But have we thought that a child already has a level of learning which needs to be built upon? And that's what a teacher does. Acha, tumko 2 + 2 aata hai? Theek hai, you're right. Now go to the next. What's 5 + 3? What's 5 + 1? The teacher understands the child, contextualizes the learning in whatever language. Sometimes it's Hindi, sometimes it's English, sometimes it's Marathi, sometimes it's dialect, and then takes the child to the next level of learning. We will probably see artificial intelligence come to that, but at what stage, when, we don't know. And what will be delivered to which group, we're not sure, because it's an evolution stage, right? So we are on this very exciting stage right now where we are comfortable with technology. Sajeev, I must tell you, somebody mentioned MP, I think it was from Educate Girls. So we worked on all the Kasturba Balika Vidyalayas in MP. There are 207, I think. We worked in 204 of them. And we deliver digital and other education through Shikshan Mitras, right? So that's the enablers I was talking about, the trained enablers work with the government. Yeah, so this is the thing, that you need enablers, you need technology, and contextualization of technology.
Thank you very much for detailing it in a very, very reasonable way, which actually syncs in with what our country is. We need to look into the diversity of our country and the needs of different sections of the community. And we also need to have enablers, supporters who would take us by the hand and lead the path, and not just walk away after giving us a technology. And also try to understand at what stage those students are. When we talk about FLN matters a lot. And until unless a child has not fulfilled the criteria of foundational learning and numeracy, it's very difficult for the child to connect with technology. Now let me take, when we are talking about diversity, challenges and all, let me take a step further. When we talk about children, we also come across a huge challenge of how to connect, how to assist, how to take forward, consider the needs of children with disabilities. And I would request Shilpashree to throw light on this aspect, please.
Thanks, Sajeev. And thank you so much for directing that question about specially abled children. I think one thing that we need to realize is that India, per se, and I agree with Rema when she said that the penetration of internet is about 60-70%, I think. And if you were to look at internet users alone, we're about 900 million plus. Even if I say some duplication is there and let go of 200 million, you still have more than 50% of people having various means to access, right? Of course, specially able children are a part of that. And I think there's a two-pronged approach for that. One is, how do you address needs of these children? Secondly, how do you get their parents to start engaging with them correctly? Okay, I'll tell you something as simple as, like, I'll always play my brand plug. We're all about, Colgate is all about good oral health. We're talking about brushing. In fact, when I joined the company about 1.5 years ago, one of the first things I thought is, how would you teach a blind child to brush? How do you explain? Right? For a child that is in your house, running around with them, trying to get them to brush for 2 minutes, we ourselves don't brush for 2 minutes, right? The right thing is to do brush for 2 minutes and also brush twice a day. One is that. Next, you have children, whether it's dyslexia, autism. You have those who are hearing impaired. How do you explain to them? And we do this program called Bright Smiles, Bright Future, which is basically a school program where we go and teach children about how to brush right, talk to them about non-use of tobacco. They should go back and talk to their grandparents or their parents about not using tobacco, why it's bad for oral health. The fact that oral health is connected to a lot of other things in the body. So, try and be safe, eat the right things, etc. So what we did is we worked with a group, and like I said, it's just a start. My team worked with an NGO. And the first thing to do is you need to understand that if you want to work with specially able children, pick up the experts in that line. I could be a communications expert. But the fact that I'm looking at building something fancy which will look nice on Google is not the solution for these kids. You need to work with NGOs or experts who work with them, right? Do we even understand that, small nuances, when we started working with them and built a curriculum, on our curriculum that can be used for, in fact, the easiest one to start with for us was the one where you have hearing impaired and you have somebody who's actually enacting the whole story to them. The fact that you have to ensure that there's legibility. You can't put small text. It has to be large. It has to be visually appealing. People need to understand. Special kids, the text has to be big. A lot of them don't know how to use their hands on the mouse. So that means keyboard-enabled stuff that can actually give you solutions. It was a learning for even my team, I think, as a journey. But that also taught us that there is so much that you can do for this. And today, probably a lot of us are not even, and one is doing it, and the next one is you need multi-language. Because parents or somebody who's going to deliver anything, and like I said, brushing is the simplest. Here we're talking about them getting into STEM education. We're talking about them getting into mainstream, getting into, looking at how interviews can be cracked. If they want to get into, blind kids who get into receptionist, how do you train them? What happens to these things? So being sensitive to the fact that their needs are separate, but also they have to know everything that kids in mainstream need to know. And you have to reach them out. A lot of times, I think the challenge for India is we're such a large organization, and trust me, large country, and while we are doing a lot of things, and I think we're doing a lot of things right as well, it's not easy. One size does not fit all. What fits in Kerala will not fit in West Bengal. So that's the, or maybe Kerala and West Bengal similar ones, but what fits in Kerala might not fit in Gujarat, for example. So you need to see what is it that you want to tailor make, what is it that is needed, and it's a lot of effort. And I think that's where corporates, when we come together, should look at if there is something that somebody has built, and I tell this across any place that I go, any people that I meet, collaboration, guys. Collaborations without thinking, kiska brand jayega uske upar. If we can actually open source the learnings that we have with each other, we'll reach larger audience, we'll make a deeper impact. And I think that is the need of the hour. And like I said, work with the experts. Don't try to become the expert on something. A lot of times it's not worth spending time on something that's already existing. And many people, and like I said, internet is there out there, right? But people don't even know where they can access content. What is the content that they can access? Can parents with special children, do they know where to go and get something? I'm sure there's so much content already available, but or some other countries have done it. Can we take something from China, for example, and convert it into our own local languages to see if it works? I don't know if we have started trying that. That's the need of the hour. And like I said, collaborate, look at this content, ensure that we have to rejuvenate each of the stakeholders in the system. There's only so much that the government will do, and of course they'll not push. They'll say that specially able kids are a very small group, right? So we'll really not get into that. We also do and I want to go beyond studies when I say digital literacy. We do a program, we've been doing this for about 7-8 years now, where we work with women mostly on what is called financial and digital literacy. And today it's evolved to a large extent where the woman in the family, and we also do this for specially abled, especially people who are motor challenged or physically impaired, trying to get them to understand how to use, I mean, of course, I think everybody knows how to use Insta, TikTok, YouTube, a lot of that, but what are the right things to follow on that? So for example, when we do this program with women, we help them unlock a lot of funds from the government, okay? So there is these programs that are available for specially abled is probably the last category, but even for abled people, what is it that you can get? Where is it that you can get access? How do you even access these? I think today accessibility is the challenge because it's all there. Either we don't prioritize that piece for us individually or even marginalized communities. They're still thinking roti kapda makan. There's one level who says, nahi, mere bacche ko padhana hai. I want them to go to the next level. Then of course, there's this new generation at all who after a certain age should take it into their own hands and say, I'm empowered enough, there's so much out there, I want to go, rather than spending, and I think on an average, Indians spend about 2 hours on the internet every day is the average. But how much of that internet is constructive usage is what each of them will need to, and it's our job probably wherever we go, advocate for it, tell them, you know what, there's access. You don't need to really be in an urban city to be able to get the same kind of knowledge that a child sitting in a Bangalore or Delhi is giving, but even if you're in Rourkela or you're in, I don't know, somewhere in Jharkhand, but you can actually, if you know the right path to it, so, at least throw light, do these things, and that's the way we could help. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Shilpashree, for bringing in one very, very important aspect, that is collaboration. Collaboration does matter. It promotes shared learning. It helps in faster scalability of initiative, replication, and we can cover a larger portion of the country like we have, a huge country with a huge geographical span. And that is where, instead of having specks around the country, it would be better that we start connecting the dots and make a difference in the overall country. So thank you very much, Shilpashree. Ravichandran, coming over to you, I would like to learn from you through certain examples. How do you take forward two key aspects? That is, one is sustainability. And while you're looking into sustainability, how do you also work upon the scalability of Edtech? Because these are two things which often comes across as a very, very important aspect, sustainability and scalability. Thank you.
Thank you, Sajeev. I'd like to thank Capgemini, TIS, as well as the SRF Foundation for having me here. It's wonderful. A great audience here as well. I'll give you the example of what we do at eVidyaloka, what we've been doing for the last 14 years, which will hopefully address both those questions of sustainability as well as scalability. The model of eVidyaloka, and so we looked at solving for two problems in this country. One is shortage of teachers, and when we started, that was about 1.3, 1.4 million teachers shortage in this country. Today it is 1.7 million. So it's only grown. Okay, so the problem is growing. So when we look at it, yes, we have an eVidyaloka, but we need close to about 2,000 eVidyalokas to solve the problem. So we said, okay, how do we make the second one, a problem which we looked at was, how do you bring about quality of learning experience for children? So So I asked myself the question, why doesn't Ravi go to a village and teach? And the answer was, various things. It could be lack of health care, lack of career opportunities, whatever it is. So then how do I get good teachers to go and teach these children in schools? And that was the two things that we looked at. So the first thing was we went about setting up a technology platform, which 14 years ago depended on, how do I bring in volunteers, how do I start teaching, and how do I reach the child, and it was Skype then, and now, of course, we use Google Meet to do that. But our platform has now become extremely robust over these 14 years. So technology platform, and then we said, how do I get the right teachers? So we got volunteers from corporates and others. So I have 7,000 volunteers today who teach 2 lakh children across 800 plus villages in 18 states in 8 different languages. And my volunteers come in from 21 countries. And they all speak in local language to teach the children. So this 7,000 volunteers are at the backbone. So if you look at it, how do I look at a platform? How do I bring in volunteers? And then when we set up the digital classroom, the first few times we failed, actually 3-4 times we failed before we got it right. From all the equipment getting stolen to nobody turning up to school, the people not trusting us over there in the village. So we started partnering with different NGOs, the collaboration that you were talking about. We started partnering with different NGOs who are on the ground so that the villagers realize, okay, these are people who are serious about trying to educate our children. So the partnership, and how do we build that partnership with the villagers? We also decided to hire one person at the village who in turn would bring in the children to school. All those things happened. So our whole model was, okay, I teach live, I go live into the school and I get somebody online to do that. So we set up a digital classroom. So this classroom has a TV, has a UPS, uninterrupted power supply, and a computer, a very powerful mic and camera, and a dongle so that we can connect up. It's as simple as that. So keep it as simple so that it is easily replicable. So if you look at sustainability, you need 1, that local community support. 2, you need government support because they have to give you the permission to enter the classroom. You should fit into the educational framework that is there. So what we did was we said we will teach English, Maths, Science, 5th standard to 10th standard. We are part of the curriculum. We are part of the timetable of the school. So I'm not doing anything totally outlandish. Call the children back in the evening. I'll give them. Nobody will turn up in the evening. So we said, just be there at school hours with the children. And that was very clear. And then we said, how do we make it cost effective? Which is, because we are an NGO and we depend on funds from outside, we said, make donating affordable. Make donating affordable. If I landed up at someone's house and said, please educate a child, he or she is already educating 2 of her children. Why would you look out to educate another child? So how do I make donating affordable? So who in this audience is willing to donate 1 roadside chai every day? 1 roadside chai is 10 rupees, correct? So can you donate a roadside chai every day? Yes? Yes? That's all it costs me to educate a child for a day. So you donate 1 roadside chai to me, 10 rupees today, I can educate a child today in some village. So 3,650 rupees per year. That's all it costs to educate a child. So we said that it has to be cost effective. And when you start scaling it, when you look at scaling, you need to have technology that will help you scale. So that's where our platform came in. We put in a lot of effort into developing this platform. So today, if any of you wants to set up another eVidyaloka equivalent where you have, say, 20 or 30 volunteers or teachers who want to teach in a village, you can use my platform. It's a digital public good. We've already registered as a DPG. We've also got the content in there free in 8 different languages. You can pick up the content, you can pick up the platform and get on with it and start teaching. So one is we had to build that platform with content. The second was the use of teachers, which is volunteers. And now we are struggling to get more and more volunteers. So we have now 7,000. We hopefully will touch about 8,000 to 9,000. But we are already started working with IIT Madras and another person. And we've got our first, as we speak, we've got our first robo teacher who's ready to teach. And she will be teaching in Hindi and English. And we are still testing her right now. So once we get that operational, we will start scaling. And the last part of it is replicability and digital infrastructure for scaling. I'll leave it at that. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ravichandran, for pointing out very vital points. One is, along with collaboration, you spoke about partnership and partnership with community. And that makes a whole lot of difference. And that we have witnessed, we have felt, we have experienced with other projects also. As soon as we bring in the community into the picture, a whole lot of difference starts happening together. And then yes, the next key element or the key stakeholder is government. The government has to be part of it if we want to think anything in terms of scalability, replicability, or in terms of sustainability. If something needs to be sustained, then we need to have government on our side. Government need to accept that, yeah, this is the model that will work, that will reach out to the kind of diverse country we have, and it should need to be replicated or supported. And when we talk about education, definitely education framework comes into the picture. We can't have a parallel system running. So it is all the best or all the better to take up the education framework what we have, because that framework also has been developed based on a consultative process. So if we can add value to that, well and good. Otherwise, at least if we take it forward through our abilities, that will also bring in a lot of difference. Cost-effective approach, yes, in India, everybody is concerned about cost. So cost effectiveness is something which I have observed plays a big role. When you bring in the community, they are also concerned about the cost. When you bring in the government, they are concerned about the cost. And cost matters. And cost has been one of the key elements that has been excluding children from school. And now, since there has been a discussion on government policies, frameworks, I would request Priyanka to throw light on the policy frameworks which are present, and if you can also throw some light on what kind of policies would be helpful in promoting educational technology, in facilitating the access, inclusion, all those aspects which we have been discussing.
Thank you for asking that. I think a lot of EdTech conversation sometimes remains in silos, where we are experimenting things and we are excited about it, but often integrating them within the government structures becomes a challenge, right? Therefore, one of the key things that, and this has been CARE's approach throughout, is to begin the ideation process as a collaboration with the stakeholders. The idea is not to go with an idea and expect states or other partners to accept it, but to also do the co-creation process. This leads to greater ownership, this leads to greater sustainability, this leads to better ideas, right? So in terms of frameworks and policies and methods to ensure EdTech is sustainable, any EdTech solution is sustainable, the key is to start from ideation process as a collaborative exercise. That's one. I think the other conversation that we've had previously and is absolutely required in terms of what policy should be doing is to empower teachers. And how does one do that? That is done through ensuring that the teachers, A, feel confident in using technology, right? This is slightly more nuanced than just digital literacy. This is the empowerment and the confidence to say, even if I don't know this technology today, I am comfortable learning it. The learnable in technology education, I think, is a universally important thing, whether it's for children or for the teachers. This is important specifically because we are all cognizant that the technology solutions that we use today, any digital solution that we are using today, will get replaced in 10 years. So any form of capacity building for digital literacy cannot be limited to what we know now. At the policy and the framework level, teacher education and teachers' empowerment is something that needs to be at the core. The other thing that is extremely important is that when we are starting to use technology solutions, they need to also meet certain content and pedagogical benchmarks, right? And let me qualify that. And I think in the previous panel, somebody gave a very beautiful example that if there is a television in a classroom, and to expect that to be a great pedagogical tool would not be a great exercise, right? The idea is that technology has affordances beyond just being a didactic method where you can have a video playing and the child engages with it just because it's a video. Technology is extremely powerful in actually getting children to experientially engage, whether that's through simulations, through games. The frameworks that need to be laid out today need to really capitalize on the power of technology and not just expect basic videos or just infographics or information being demonstrated through videos to be adequate, right? So pedagogy needs to be at the core, and what pedagogies are best amenable to technology is something that we need to really focus on. The fourth specific thing that I think is extremely important, and I want to sort of highlight this by taking a step back. What has been implicit in the conversation right now, and perhaps previously also, is that EdTech is not limited to student-facing technology, right? It's not only the e-learning content that is EdTech. EdTech is also the ability to make sense of data that is coming through multiple means. And that is an extremely powerful tool that technology offers us. For us to now, at this juncture, be able to lay down clear policies on how this data can be A, systematically collected, and B, how it can actually be used by the people who need to use it. Can the data of learning assessments be provided to teachers in a manner that it is easier for them to plan the next session, right? So can data which is aggregated across schools, perhaps at a block level or a district level or even at state level, be provided to the state officials, education officials in a manner that it is easily readable and easily interpretable by them. So that's the other facet of education technology which has huge potential, and we must also be thinking about policies around that. What would policies around that look like? States already have large amount of data that they are capturing through either their own monitoring panel platforms or through other assessments that they do. What is required is that we are able to share this data, use this data intelligently, are able to use this data safely, and actually start making meaning of this. So some frameworks, some policies around usage of data is also integral to the conversations around EdTech. I'm going to pause here and hand it back to you.
Thank you very much. Very important aspects that you brought into light. One is co-creation process, a very important aspect. And then coming on to empowering teachers, which I think is one of the most important element. Can we think about the fear? The students have their own fear going to the school, and the teachers have their own fear in using technology, because they are yet to learn more than just navigating through the technology that has been given to them. And that is what makes them nervous about the technology which has been given in the name of education technology. And how do you balance between the book and technology is something which will help them to connect back with the children. So can we think about approaches where we have teachers resource group, teachers who are interested in technological aspects are brought together as a group capacitated in addressing technological based issues so that they can be the forerunners, front runners in helping others who face difficulties, especially in rural areas where if your screen goes blank, it takes weeks to be corrected. So can we bring them in? Can we bring in the panchayats? We have Shiksha Samitis. Can we bring them into the picture so that they also will have a certain degree of ownership in taking forward educational technology? They will connect, and they are one of those stakeholders who can connect well with the government functionaries. And that is where the policy aspects come in. That is where we can also influence policies. Can we think about the youths, training the youths as technicians who can be ready to help the school? Can we think about mothers group? Can we think about the SHG groups who are present in the villages to take up certain responsibilities? And these are not new ideas. We have been doing these things in regard to other programs. And whenever they are brought into as an integral part of anything, they have made huge difference. So can we think from that perspective, and I'm sure that they will take a lead in working out, helping the government in if required, revising the policies or strengthening the policies, or at least enabling existing policies to be implemented in the best way. Another interesting point that you made was making the data talk. Making the data talk, especially where the government officials are able to understand, analyze, prepare themselves and act accordingly. And that is where I think the overall picture, the overall effort of implementing the policies in the most effective way comes up. So thank you very much for throwing light on the policy frameworks. Thank you. How much time we have? We have 2 minutes. Would it be a good idea to give an opportunity to the audience to have quick questions to the panel member? Anybody interested? No, that silence is not a good sign. Anybody? Yes, please. Can somebody pass on a microphone? No, you need to be, I can hear you. You need to be heard till that corner. Please. Please introduce yourself and then.
Hi, my name is Siri and I'm part of Educational Initiatives, EI. So we are a 2-decade-old organization at Edtech. We've been in the industry. And a lot of points which each panelist has addressed, we do take care of. Today we work with more than 1,500 government school students where we have enablers on the ground who are actually making sure that the tech is adopted. We've introduced modules like financial literacy, computational to prepare our students for the 21st century skill set. But ma'am, Ms. Saxena, a question to you. So time and again, from a sustainability perspective, we closely want to work with the government, right from the ideation. But then right now, in most of our programs, the government gets involved a little later, once we've shown data, which happens usually 2 to 3 years down the line. We do have dashboards, what you were referring to, right? Like easily understandable. But how do we get involved, or how do we interact with the government right up front so that we closely ideate and go hand in hand? And because, as you rightly mentioned, government's involvement is extremely important from a sustainability perspective and scale as well impact.
Excellent question, I think. One of the ways that I can offer is something that has come through experience. So as CARE, we are part of the technical support unit in Bihar and Jharkhand. What we have done is that we have leveraged the existing platforms of the government. So government in both these states have monitoring platforms which are designed for a certain usage. What we did was we started our conversations to understand how they would want to improve those platforms. In those conversations, and the idea really being that build on what the state already has and help them understand, look more closely into what they have and what they want to take to the next level, right? In this case, they mentioned that we are able to track infrastructure really well, but we are not able to track learning outcomes of children. We're not able to look at what is the learning of the children in the classroom. And that's where we had an opportunity to discuss ideas like assessments integrated within a platform of that nature. So a very short answer to your question is that build on what they have already and identify what is the natural next step for them. How do you improve that? This not only ensures that there is higher usability, but also ensures that you're not really always starting from zero. You're not always reinventing the wheel. You're building on what already needs to be strengthened.
Thank you so much, Ms. Saxena, for that. Ladies and gentlemen,
The time's up.
what an enlightening discussion we've had, from robots to policies and how we can make an impact. A heartfelt thank you to our panelists. Yes, please go ahead.
As the moderator for this group, on behalf of the group, I would like to thank the organizers, Capgemini, EduTech, SRF Foundation, for thinking about this and organizing this event and giving all of us an opportunity to come together to think on this important subject, which is going to make a difference in everybody's life. Thank you very much, organizers.
Thank you so much, Mr. Sajeev. I'd like to call Kamleshwar to come and hand over, do the felicitation for all of our panelists, please. Thank you so much. From innovative tools to strategies for inclusion, they've shown us that technology, when we use it wisely, can be a true equalizer in education. Thank you so much, Mr. Sajeev. Thank you for joining our panel today. Yes, I know it's time. We're gonna go and refuel. But come on, keep the claps coming. Thank you, Ms. Mohan. Thank you for joining the panel. Thank you, Shilpashree. Thank you so much for joining the panel. A little bit more. A little more energy. There we go. Thank you, Mr. Venkataraman. See, he's the one who spoke about the robot, remember? Clap, clap. Technology. Thank you, Ms. Saxena, for joining us in the panel. Can we please take a group photo? Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
I was also telling somebody who's sitting next to me saying, I love her energy. I don't know if she's from Anurag's team or Suresh Reddy's team, but two people I think we should all thank. One is, of course, Suresh for shouldering this whole event, I think so. And Anurag Pratap, who's not here with us because of personal reasons, but in spirit, I think, great job, guys.
Thank you. Thank you so much. We appreciate it.